Before this video ends, you might realize that the thing you're chasing the most could actually destroy your life. Welcome back to the channel. Today's message is powerful, because we're talking about success, money, greed, and the dangerous choices people make when enough is never enough. Have you ever dreamed of becoming rich, successful, powerful? Of course you have. We all have. But here's the truth nobody talks about. Sometimes the hunger for more can slowly destroy everything you already built. Your peace, your family, your future, even yourself. Today's story is about a man who seemed to have the perfect life. Money, respect, success, everything. But one greedy decision changed his life forever. And trust me, what happened next will shock you. So stay with me until the end, because this story may completely change the way you think about money and success. Daniel Carter was a smart businessman living in Chicago. He started from nothing. No rich family, no special connections. He worked day and night and slowly built a successful company. People respected him, his family loved him, and his life looked perfect from the outside. But deep inside, Daniel was never satisfied. Every time he earned more money, he wanted even more. His friends warned him to slow down, but he never listened. He believed that more money meant more happiness, and that belief slowly began destroying his life. One day, Daniel met a mysterious investor named Victor. Victor promised him an unbelievable opportunity. He claimed that if Daniel invested everything with him, he could double his money in just 3 months. Daniel's mind immediately filled with dreams of luxury, private jets, giant mansions, fame, and power. Without thinking carefully, he invested almost all his savings. Even worse, he borrowed money from the bank so he could invest more. His wife became worried and warned him that the deal felt risky, but greed had already taken control of Daniel's mind. He ignored everyone around him. At first, everything looked perfect. Victor kept showing fake profits, and Daniel felt like a genius. He proudly told people that he was about to become richer than ever before. But one morning, everything changed. Victor disappeared. The company vanished. Every single dollar was gone. Daniel sat silently in his office staring at an empty computer screen while his hands shook in fear. Years of hard work had been destroyed in one moment because of greed. Soon, the bank started calling him every day. His business collapsed, his friends disappeared, and even his family began losing trust in him. For the first time in his life, Daniel understood something important. Greed does not only take money. It also steals peace, relationships, and sometimes even the future itself. He realized that he already had enough to live a happy life, but he destroyed it because he always wanted more. After losing everything, Daniel stopped blaming the world. He finally accepted the truth that his own greed caused his downfall. Every night he remembered the warnings people had given him, but now it was too late. Still, instead of giving up, he decided to learn from his mistakes, because sometimes failure becomes the greatest teacher in life. Daniel sold his expensive car, left his luxury apartment, and moved into a small rented home. Life became extremely difficult, but for the first time in many years, he felt something strange inside himself. Peace. He no longer spent his days chasing quick money. Instead, he worked honestly and rebuilt his life slowly, step by step. People slowly began respecting him again, not because he was rich, but because he had changed as a person. One day, a young employee named Ryan joined Daniel's small company. Ryan was ambitious but impatient. He constantly talked about becoming rich overnight. Daniel saw his younger self inside Ryan, so one afternoon he shared his painful story. Ryan listened quietly and then asked, "What was the biggest mistake you made?" Daniel smiled sadly and replied, "I wanted success faster than wisdom." That sentence stayed in Ryan's mind forever. As time passed, Daniel began understanding life differently. Real wealth was not luxury cars or giant bank accounts. Real wealth was peace of mind, good health, loyal family, and honest relationships. For years he had ignored those priceless things because greed blinded him. Now he finally understood what truly mattered, and strangely, that understanding made him happier than money ever did. Years later, Daniel became successful again, but this time he was wiser, more humble, and more grateful. Whenever young entrepreneurs asked him for advice, he always told them the same thing: there is nothing wrong with dreaming big, but greed should never become bigger than personal values. Success built with patience lasts longer, and a peaceful life will always be more valuable than endless greed. One rainy evening, Daniel received a phone call from an old friend named Marcus. Marcus told him he wanted to offer a new business opportunity. Years earlier, Daniel would have accepted immediately, but now he carefully studied every detail and asked questions before making any decisions. Wisdom had finally replaced greed in his life. Daniel and Marcus eventually started a small business together. There were no shortcuts, no fake promises, and no overnight success. Only honest work, patience, and discipline. Month after month, the company slowly grew. This time Daniel felt proud because he was building something real instead of chasing dangerous fantasies. One day, a wealthy investor visited Daniel's office and offered him another risky deal with huge profits. For a moment, the old temptation returned. His heart raced as thoughts of more money, fame, and power entered his mind again. But then he remembered the pain of losing everything years earlier. Calmly, he refused the offer. That single decision changed his future forever. Daniel also began spending more time with his wife and son. Years earlier he had ignored them while chasing wealth, but now things were different. They ate dinner together, laughed together, and slowly rebuilt the warmth inside their home. Daniel realized that success means nothing if you lose the people you love along the way. Meanwhile, Ryan made a terrible mistake. He secretly invested his savings into a risky online scheme because he wanted to become rich quickly. Within weeks, he lost almost everything. Ryan felt ashamed and hopeless. Daniel sat beside him quietly and said, "Painful lessons often create wise people." At that moment, Ryan finally understood the true meaning behind Daniel's story. Daniel later began teaching young entrepreneurs in his city. Many people expected secret formulas for becoming rich, but Daniel always taught simple truths: be patient, stay honest, avoid greed, and never sacrifice values for fast money. Some people laughed at his advice, but others listened carefully, and those people slowly changed their lives. One afternoon, Daniel unexpectedly saw Victor again, the same man who had stolen his money years earlier. Victor looked tired, lonely, and miserable. He had lost everything too, because greed eventually destroys everyone, even people who appear powerful. Daniel looked at him quietly, and instead of anger, he felt pity. That night, Daniel sat alone thinking about life. Years ago, he believed money was the greatest victory. But now he understood the truth. True victory is controlling yourself. A person who cannot control greed can never find peace, and peace is far more valuable than riches. As Daniel's son grew older, he once asked his father what the secret to a happy life was. Daniel smiled softly and answered, "Be grateful for what you have. Work hard for what you want. But never destroy your soul trying to get more." His son never forgot those words. Over time, people no longer remembered Daniel as the man who lost everything. They remembered him as the man who learned from his mistakes and turned pain into wisdom. His story spread everywhere, teaching people that greed may promise happiness for a moment, but wisdom brings peace for a lifetime. Daniel's company continued growing slowly, and this time people trusted him deeply. Clients respected his honesty, and employees admired his leadership. He no longer built success through pressure and greed. He built it through trust, and trust became more valuable than money itself. One night, Ryan admitted that he still sometimes felt jealous when he saw others becoming rich faster. Daniel nodded and told him that jealousy never completely disappears, but wisdom means refusing to let jealousy control your decisions. Ryan listened carefully because he now understood the danger of impatience. As years passed, Daniel noticed how modern society had become obsessed with showing wealth online. People constantly displayed luxury cars, expensive watches, and fake lifestyles on social media. But Daniel knew the truth behind many of those images: debt, stress, and unhappiness. He often reminded people never to compare their real life to someone else's highlight reel. One morning, Daniel received the biggest business offer of his life. The deal could make him incredibly rich, but the company involved had a dishonest reputation. Some of his partners told him to ignore it because everyone else was doing the same thing. But Daniel refused because he had learned that money earned without integrity eventually brings destruction. After seeing Marcus suffer, Daniel became even more grateful for his own life. Every morning he appreciated simple things: peaceful breakfasts, family smiles, good health, and honest work. Years earlier he ignored those blessings because greed always focuses on what is missing, while gratitude focuses on what already exists. Later, Daniel was invited to speak at a business conference in New York City. Hundreds of young entrepreneurs attended, expecting to hear secrets about becoming millionaires. Instead, Daniel shared his failures. He told them that the most dangerous thing in life is wanting success faster than you deserve it. The room became silent because deep down, everyone knew it was true. As Daniel grew older, he stopped chasing attention. He spent more time walking with his wife, visiting his parents, helping young people, and enjoying simple moments of peace. Ironically, the less obsessed he became with money, the happier he felt. One evening, Daniel stood outside watching the sunset with his son. His son asked him what life had taught him after everything he went through. Daniel smiled gently and replied, "Greed makes people believe they never have enough, but happiness begins the moment you appreciate what you already have." At that moment, Daniel realized something beautiful. The richest person in the world is not the one who has the most, but the one who needs the least. Years later, Daniel received a handwritten letter from a young man saying that his story had stopped him from making a terrible decision driven by greed. Daniel sat quietly after reading it. For years he believed his biggest failure destroyed his life, but now he realized that his painful journey was helping others become wiser. At another business event, Daniel met a famous millionaire admired for his luxurious lifestyle. During a private conversation, the millionaire admitted that despite all his wealth, he still did not feel happy. Daniel understood immediately because he had once lived the same way. Money can buy comfort, but it cannot buy peace inside the human heart. Ryan eventually became a successful leader himself, but unlike before, he no longer chased shortcuts. He taught his employees patience, discipline, and honesty. When someone asked him the fastest way to become successful, Ryan smiled and replied, "Focus less on becoming rich quickly and more on becoming valuable." Daniel's son later started his own career. Before leaving home, he asked his father for one final piece of advice. Daniel proudly told him that the greatest investment in life is not money, but character, because once people trust your character, opportunities will always follow. As Daniel grew older, people no longer talked about the fortune he lost long ago. Instead, they talked about the wisdom he shared. Schools invited him to speak, young entrepreneurs followed his advice, and families respected his values. Daniel finally understood that success is not about how much money you collect, but about how many lives you positively change along the way. One peaceful morning, Daniel sat on his porch holding a cup of coffee while the sunrise painted the sky with soft golden colors. Years earlier, his mornings had been filled with stress, phone calls, and endless pressure to earn more money. But now his heart felt calm. He finally understood that peace is one of life's greatest treasures, and unlike money, peace cannot be bought. As Daniel's story spread across the country, people from all backgrounds came to hear him speak. Students, business owners, and struggling families. Daniel always shared the same message: ambition is powerful, but when ambition turns into greed, it slowly destroys happiness. One evening, Ryan visited Daniel after many years. Ryan smiled and thanked him for changing his life. Daniel laughed softly and replied, "No. Life changed you. Pain simply opened your eyes." For a moment, both men sat in silence because they understood how dangerous greed can become. As time passed, Daniel became known not for his wealth, but for his wisdom. He spent his days helping young people, supporting his community, and enjoying simple moments with family. Strangely, this simple life made him feel richer than ever before, because true richness is measured not by money, but by love, peace, health, and purpose. Before his final public speech, Daniel stood in front of hundreds of people and shared one last message. He told them never to allow greed to control their hearts, because greed always promises happiness but often delivers destruction. He encouraged them to stay grateful, patient, and wise, reminding everyone that a meaningful life will always be more valuable than endless wealth. The room became completely silent because everyone felt the truth behind his words. And from that day forward, Daniel's story continued inspiring people everywhere, teaching generation after generation that sometimes wanting too much can make a person lose everything, but wisdom and gratitude can help them find life again.